Mayoral races take place tomorrow in the West Midlands, Tees Valley, London, and 7 other metro districts. Most will see a Labour candidate pitched against a Tory one. But for the new job of Mayor of the North East, a different kind of contest is playing out. There, the fight is not between Labour and Tory, but Labour and former Labour. That's because Labour blocked the candidacy of the current Mayor of North Tyne, Jamie Driscoll, for the crime of appearing alongside Ken Loach. And now Driscoll is standing as an independent, and he's polling neck and neck with Labour's candidate for the job. Now, that Labour candidate is Kim McGuinness, and this is her pitch.
This May, for the first time, our region has the chance to elect a mayor that will create jobs, fix our broken transport system, and end the days of London taking our decisions for us. I want to make the North East a place where everyone has the opportunity to have a good job, safe, reliable, affordable public transport, and a region here where we finally commit to ending child poverty. That's why I'm standing to be your North East Mayor, with a plan to finally bring our public transport network back under public control, from buses to train stations, with a plan around our rivers and ports to make us the home of green energy, and to finally put our culture and sports, the pride that we have in this region, back on the national and international stage.
That was part of Kim McGuinness's campaign video. I'm delighted now to be joined by Jamie Driscoll. Thanks for joining us. I'm sure this is a very busy day for you, it's polling tomorrow. We spoke about your campaign on Monday, me and Ash. And after watching that video from your opponent, I have to say I'm struggling to work out the difference in what you're sort of offering when it comes to your headlines, right? So you both want to bring public transport into public ownership. She's talking about creating green jobs. You're talking about creating green jobs. How are you different? What's the big dividing lines in this election?
Well, primarily it comes down to numbers, facts, and money. We're seeing this right across politics. What did the Tories have? They're levelling up. So it's one thing to say, I will do all these wonderful things, but unless there's any money on it, unless there's any numbers on it, it's all just platitudes. And people can see that. That's why so many people are coming over to me. But then you dig down into the detail. I've got a track record. I've smashed every target on job creation by 300%. I've done it without putting up the council tax. I've massively increased the number of training courses. And for all the talk about child poverty, the Labour candidate is backing the 2-child benefit cap, a single policy which keeps 45,000 North East children in poverty, whereas I've actually run a child poverty prevention programme in 100 schools. So, yeah, it's can you deliver? We're talking there about a police and crime commissioner, and crime's rising in Northumbria while it's going down in the rest of England.
You were sort of saying that, this is just messaging unless you sort of put money to it, unless you put numbers to it. What money can you use? What is the money at your disposal if you were to sort of win this mayoralty?
So, yes, I've been North of Tyne Mayor for 5 years now. That was all negotiated before I was a politician, and that has a core budget of £20 million a year. That gets prorated up. So when I was running last time, made a manifesto pledge that I would renegotiate the deal and bring in the wider North East. I currently cover 44% of the population. And so that extra deal gives us transport powers, which we don't have at the moment. So all told, it's £6.1 billion. Some of that's over a longer period. So the Mayor will have £2 billion in the 4-year term, the bulk of which is for transport. Some of it's re-announced existing money, like for potholes and things like that. But there is a very large amount of new money for transport, core functions. You can do whatever you want to do. I've used that, run that child poverty prevention program, creating jobs with that, and money for skills training, and some for clearing brownfield sites and building new homes. So there is something we can do. Does it compensate for austerity? No, it doesn't.
And, I presume Labour aren't too happy with the fact that you're running as an independent. They blocked your candidacy, I think, for pretty spurious reasons. But now you've gone it alone and you seem to be running them close. I mean, has this been in any way a dirty campaign? I mean, I would imagine if I were the Labour Party in this situation, I would have seething hatred for you, and might be inclined to sort of partake in some dirty tricks. I mean, what's been going on? What can you tell us about the nature of the campaign?
Yeah, I think the premise that you're talking about there, Michael, I think that needs unpicking a bit, because you say Labour as if it's a monolith. And of course, the vast majority of Labour Party members wanted me to be their candidate. There's a lot of the MPs, a very large number of the councillors. I think, although they've got these weird hostage videos, I am backing Kim McGuinness, and you see them sort of blinking in Morse code because they've been forced to do it by lotto. They've got no one out campaigning almost. Whenever they do a photo, it's almost in single figures. I've got huge numbers of people, but a vast amount of cross-party support. And actually, it's been fairly clean. There's the odd thing that they put out with false information, claiming that it's a neck-and-neck race between them and the Tories. That is a direct lie, and the polling shows that. But to be honest, it's largely been devoid of any media interest. I think that's one of the key things in this. You started by mentioning that Tees Valley and the West Midlands. Now, Guardian, other papers have showed, look, here's the polling, how close it is in these areas. It's Labour Tory. And there's a poll out there that says someone, an independent, is challenging Labour when Labour, 20 points ahead nationally, challenging them in their core heartlands, and it's neck and neck in the polls. And nobody's picked up on it. And I think a big part of that is that if it's not about the general election, nobody talks about it. We even put press releases out to people like The Guardian, the BBC, didn't pick a thing up.
Oh, that's interesting they didn't pick that up. We did it on Monday. I have to say we were maybe the exception. Has that polling been helpful? So I suppose, in case anyone didn't watch our show on Monday, More in Common have done polling, which puts you and Kim McGuinness sort of in a statistical tie. I think it's 35 and 33 or something. Was there an issue sort of where you were knocking on people's doors and they were saying, well, I want to keep the Tories out, so I'm going to vote Labour, and now they're a bit more willing to sort of take a punt and give you a go?
Yeah, exactly that. The vast majority of people who are engaged, I mean, there's going to be a 30-ish% turnout because, in effect, it's a local election, and I don't think anything's going to shift that too much. It's been unlike any other election campaign I've been involved in, and I've been involved in election campaigns since 1987, when I was first out door knocking to try and get Neil Kinnock to be Prime Minister. And this is really unusual, because every time any of our activists go out and they're talking to people, whether it's on the street, social media, and they explain my track record, what happened, what I want to do, they say, oh, yeah, that's great, because there is such a rejection of Westminster politics here in the Northeast. And there's two things that have come up. One is, but wouldn't it be good to have a Labour mayor and a Labour government? And then people look at actually how centralised the Labour government is, and I think that mayors don't actually have any influence on the Labour government. And I managed to get more money out of the Tories than any of the Tory mayors did, which is quite an achievement. So, my negotiating record's good. And the other part of it is people thinking, I just want the Tories out. Let's not upset the apple cart. And now that polling's there are loads of people thinking, yeah, you know what? I'm actually free to vote for the candidate I want. And I think that is going to tip us over the line.
And finally, let's imagine you do win. In that situation, do you sort of reach out to the Labour Party and say, have you changed your mind? Do you want me back in the fold? Or do you sort of put two fingers up at them for blocking your candidacy in the first place?
There are options other than those two, Michael. What I would do is there's going to be a general election later this year. I will meet with senior Tories, senior Labour, possibly even Mr. Sunak and Sir Keir themselves separately, and say, when the election's coming round, I will look at your policies, I will analyse them, I will run the numbers, and I will advocate for whichever policy split works best for the North East. And I'll start a bidding war for what's going to be best for the North East between them.
Jamie Driscoll, thank you so much for joining me. I'll let you get back to the campaign. Good luck tomorrow.
Cheers, Michael.